Hello and thank you for watching this video. Today we're going to tell you how you set up Cookdown Alert Sync, just to show you how quick and easy it really is to get going with it. So I have a blank ServiceNow instance and I have a SCOM Management Group with no anything installed or imported in it. And we're going to get going from scratch. So to start with, we start in SCOM. I'm going to import our management packs. So there are two of them. There's the licensing one and there's the actual Cookdown connector itself. I already had the licensing pack in here. I used it for another one of our products that it's shared. So we're going to import that. And then we're going to close and reopen the SCOM console to refresh the UI. So let's just do that quickly. Straightforward enough. We're using SCOM 2012 right here, but this works with any version of SCOM from 2012 R2 right through to latest and greatest, including 2019 with all the URs. And if we go to administration here, you will see our ServiceNow management pack, our Alert Sync management pack here. The first thing we're going to do is to put in our ServiceNow instance details. Partner test 300 is what I'm currently working with, and I'm going to create a connector. This is what pushes up SCOM alerts. You can choose to push up all SCOM alerts as they're raised, or to cherry pick and push a subset up. I'm going to pick a custom option, and I'll add a subscription to it in a bit. That's what there is to kind of see in the UI, not much kind of to it. So now we're going to go into ServiceNow. So in ServiceNow, you would typically start off in the ServiceNow store. You would go find our ServiceNow store app. You would hit Get on it, which would make it available in your ServiceNow instance from the All Applications screen, which is under System Applications All. That's what I'm looking at right now. Because this ServiceNow instance is linked to the ServiceNow instance in which we develop the product, I have to go to My Company Applications to do the same process. I'm going to pick the version I want to install and hit install. So from hitting this button, the process is exactly the same as you will see. I just have to go to a slightly different piece of UI to do that. And this takes a minute or so, and we're essentially installing our ServiceNow certified store app. There are 3 tables in it, one that holds SCOM alerts, one that holds transforms, and one that holds the incident creation rules that govern when an incident is raised from a SCOM alert. When this is installed, it shouldn't take too long. We're going to refresh the ServiceNow, the browser, to refresh the UI, because this navigation bar on the left-hand side is only pulled down when you refresh your browser. So we'll just give this a minute, not far off from looking at that progress bar. Come on, ServiceNow. There we go, success, perfect. And we're going to refresh our browser here, which will cause Alert Sync to appear in the list on the left-hand side. But actually, the next thing we're going to do is going to be to create a user account that we can use as a service account. And we're going to put its details into SCOM. So, users is where I go next. And we're going to create a new user. We're going to call it alertsync.service. Oops, helps if I can spell. And then the first name and last name are what you will see on incidents raised by our integration. So we'll create that account, and then we'll go straight back in and edit it. We want a password, which I have in my last pass here, so I'll just copy out my password and paste that in. And hit update. And then we're going to add some roles to this account, which is very important. So there are a few roles to add here. There is the ITIL role, which is a standard ServiceNow role that gives access to incidents and things and CMDB, and our store accounts, store apps roles. So these two in particular are the ones we want: the sync service and the web access role. The sync service grants access to the tables that make up our store application, and the web access role allows us to access web API. The other roles that are in here are worth knowing about. These govern things like access to create incident creation rules, to view and modify SCOM alerts, and to the connector settings with the top one there. This service account doesn't need those permissions, but they're worth knowing about. So that's done. We're now going to copy the system ID by right-clicking this grey bar at the top and going copy sysID. And then we can go into our ServiceNow Store app here and go into the configuration. We're going to click this button here in the yellow bar to edit the record and paste in our sysID and save it. These settings govern essentially which account should our app use to stamp incidents with, and say that they created them. We have a field for SCOM object ID lookup. In here we're going to put correlation ID. This field is essentially used where you have our CMDB population product as well. And this field is basically Alert Sync saying, where should I look for SCOM objects ID inside of your CMDB? And that's the field I've picked. If you don't have our discovery product, it doesn't matter what you put in here, it doesn't do anything. If you do have our discovery product and the field you put the SCOM object ID in contains things other than the SCOM object ID, you would check yes here to do a string search in this field. You can specify how many days worth of SCOM alerts to keep in ServiceNow. The default is keep everything, which is what I've left for now. But essentially you can set what you like. So that's all the configuration there is. We're going to go back into SCOM now, and we're going to create that runners account and hook it up to a profile in here that our store app has created. So here we have one I created earlier, but you would come in here and go create runners account, and you would get all of these steps essentially. You put in your credentials here. I've already done that, and you would distribute those credentials in SCOM to where you want them to go to. I've picked more secure here, and I've specified the resource pool that the actual product uses to send alerts from, which kind of makes sense given you want the credentials where the work is going to be run from, where the alerts are going to be pushed from, and that's what's in this resource pool. Then we're going to associate that account with the profile created by the store app here, which is called, in case I did that too quickly, Cookdown Alert Sync for ServiceNow. So we're going to add in the Alert Sync service account and go OK. It will then save it and ask me to distribute, which I've already done. Takes a moment. There we go. And now we're going to go into Alert Sync. We'll see the Run As account configuration is now green because there is a Run As account in the profile. We've got our ServiceNow Instance in here. We've got our connector we created earlier, so now we should be able to test the connection. Testing the connection will essentially authenticate to ServiceNow from SCOM and check we can access the ServiceNow Store app. So from this area here, I can see my connection test is failing because it can't resolve the incident because I've typed it incorrectly. So I'm going to remove my connector and I'm going to create a new one after fixing that typo. No big deal. Partner test 300. That looks better. And we'll create another connector. Again, we're going to hit customize. One thing I will do this time actually, just while SCOM creates the connector and fleshes out the details in the background, I'm going to put on the internal connector a subscription. The subscription in here is the thing that governs which SCOM alerts are sent up into ServiceNow. I give it a name, raise incident. I can pick to send SCOM alerts from all groups in my management group or the whole group. I can choose which targets to forward alerts from. So for example, a management pack, I'm going to leave the default of forward all. and then I can pick criteria. So in here, you can pick severity, priority, resolution state, and category. I'm going to check everything apart from these resolution states. I've got in here a custom resolution state called raise incident. So I only want SCOM alerts to be pushed up into ServiceNow when they go into state raise incident. So there we go. Done. Back into Alert Sync, let's rerun that connection test, and with any luck, we've given it enough time for SCOM to churn in the background and to create the internal connection connector. So again, there we go, this has succeeded. So we've verified the username and password are good, and we can access everything we need. We're going to turn it on. These settings are documented on our website, and there are other videos that explain them. And then we're going to go into active alerts, and we're going to push one of these guys over into ServiceNow. So while we do that, one thing we're just going to quickly talk through are these rules in our ServiceNow store app called incident creation rules. These govern when a ServiceNow incident is received, what do I do with it? Where do I route it? Do I raise an incident or not? So when this SCOM alert comes across, the one I just pushed, if it arrives before we've created any rules, no incident will get raised. I need to create some rules here. So in here I'm going to specify a few rules. I'm going to create what is called a wait rule, and a wait rule, if I just check the wait rule box here, will essentially hold back SCOM alerts that are incoming that match the criteria I define here, the conditions, for a period of time. So I'm going to say alert ID is not empty as my conditions. I'm going to hold it back for a minute, and I'm going to leave the processing order at 100. The highest priority, lowest number rule I create. One is the highest priority, essentially. I am going to, did I actually activate that rule? Did I say it was active? Let's just check. I did not, so I'm going to make it active. And then I'm going to create another incident creation rule to actually handle raising incidents. I'm going to give it a name. Always raise incident. This one I will also make active. I'll give it a lower number than the initial wait rule. I can choose in here to automatically map configuration item or not. This won't do anything unless you are using our discovery product, in which case we know based on the SCOM object ID that the alert came from, what object in your CMDB correlates to that SCOM object that raised it. And we're going to specify a fallback CI in case automatic mapping doesn't work, which it won't in this instance because we haven't done any CMDB population. So it will have this set. If you don't have our discovery product, then it will essentially use a single static configuration item in here or be blank. Under the alert conditions, I'm going to pick alert ID is not blank, it's not empty, and the alert is not closed. The resolution state is not closed, because we don't want closed alerts raised as incidents. We're also going to say this is the group I want my incidents routed to in here, and I'm going to hit submit. So that's incident creation rules done. So with any luck now, our SCOM alert has been received. Let's see. Here it is. And it looks like it came through before we set up the rules. Let's check. Yes, there's no incident in here for this SCOM alert, which is what I would expect to see. So let's just quickly look through all the details of the incident here. So all the fields are filled in as you would expect. We have information about the monitoring object, the monitoring configuration, and then ultimately whether an incident was raised or not. Just to give this a kick, I'm going to check updates for SCOM and hit save, which will force it to get reevaluated against those rules. And you see here it's been held by the wait rule, which is what we would expect. If I go to alert history here, you'll see what's happened. So alert has been assigned to incident creation rule, wait rule. Starting the wait rule for a minute, and now we wait for a minute. And then in a minute, what we'll see is some updates to this screen, and we'll see the incident get created as it gets matched to the incident creation rule, unless, of course, the incident is resolved in the meantime. So we'll just wait a minute. And what we will see, I'll tell you about it before it appears on screen, is in this alert history here, the smallest increment of time is a second. So you might see the actions come out of sequence, appear out of sequence in here. And that's simply because they all hit in the same second. So ServiceNow just puts them on screen at the same time. So we still have the SCOM alert against the wait rule. We're still waiting for this to be pushed through. Shouldn't take too much longer now. We should see in relative real time when this this changes. There we go. Look, we see the squigglies here that show that this field has been modified. So now we can see it's got an incident ID and it hit this rule. And if I go through to the incident itself, open record, you will see the incident. We set a caller to the caller that we specified, the name we've put in the sync service app. We've used the right assignment group and we've set the CI specified, and we have obviously filled in the name and the description of the thing. And that is how quick and easy it is to set up Alert Sync. And there we are. If there are any questions on anything I've shown, or you'd like to get a private demo, you can find all of that information at cookdown.com. If you go to cookdown.com/alert sync, all of the information on this product, along with contact forms that are on here. So there are free trial forms. If you hit the schedule a demo button, then fill in the form here, then we'll be in touch and we can talk. All right, thanks very much.